Have you ever noticed that the very first conversation you have each morning is not with another person, but with yourself? Before you check your phone, before you read a message, before the world has a chance to influence your mood, there is already a voice speaking inside your mind. For some people, that voice is encouraging and calm, but for many others, it is filled with doubt, fear, and criticism. They wake up thinking about unfinished tasks, worrying about the future, replaying mistakes from the past, or questioning whether they are doing enough with their lives. Without realizing it, they begin the day carrying emotional weight that was never meant to be carried. What starts as a simple thought quickly becomes a feeling, and that feeling often shapes the entire day ahead. A peaceful morning can create a peaceful day, while a troubled morning can turn even small challenges into overwhelming burdens. This is why the first thoughts you choose to entertain each morning are far more important than most people realize. Modern life trains us to focus on everything outside ourselves. We are constantly encouraged to seek more success, more approval, more productivity, and more achievements. Yet very few people are taught how to cultivate peace within their own minds. As a result, many spend years chasing external goals while feeling increasingly exhausted on the inside. They achieve one thing only to worry about the next. They solve one problem only to become anxious about another. The mind never seems to rest. Ancient wisdom teaches that suffering often begins not because of what happens to us, but because of how we interpret and respond to what happens. Two people can face the same situation and experience it completely differently. One becomes consumed by fear, while the other remains calm and steady. The difference is not always the situation itself. More often, it is the quality of the thoughts they allow to guide them. This is why developing a healthy inner dialogue is one of the most powerful habits a person can build. For thousands of years, Buddhist teachings have emphasized the importance of awareness and right thinking. The mind is often compared to a garden. Whatever you plant and nurture will eventually grow. If you repeatedly plant seeds of fear, resentment, self-doubt, and negativity, those qualities begin to dominate your experience of life. But if you intentionally cultivate gratitude, patience, wisdom, and self-compassion, your inner world gradually transforms. This does not mean pretending that life is perfect or ignoring difficulties. Instead, it means choosing thoughts that strengthen you rather than weaken you. Every morning presents a new opportunity to decide which seeds you will water. Most people never make this choice consciously. They simply allow old habits and automatic thoughts to take control. Yet the moment you become aware of your inner dialogue, you reclaim the power to change it. Small shifts in perspective, repeated consistently over time, can create remarkable changes in the way you feel, act, and live. Today, we will explore 5 powerful things you can tell yourself every morning. These are not empty affirmations designed to make you feel good for a few moments. They are deeper truths that can help you develop resilience, clarity, confidence, and inner peace. Think of them as daily reminders that gently guide your mind back toward balance whenever life becomes overwhelming. As you listen, do not rush through the words. Take a moment to reflect on each idea and consider how it applies to your own life. You may discover that one particular message speaks directly to a challenge you are facing right now. Sometimes, a single shift in thinking is enough to change the direction of an entire day. And when those days begin to accumulate, they can transform the direction of an entire life. With that in mind, let us begin with the first powerful truth you should tell yourself every morning. The first powerful thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: I am not my thoughts. At first, this statement may sound simple, but it contains a profound truth that has the power to transform the way you experience life. Most people spend their entire lives identifying with every thought that enters their minds. When a negative thought appears, They immediately assume it must be true. When fear arises, they believe they are fearful. When self-doubt appears, they conclude that something is wrong with them. But the mind constantly produces thoughts, just as the sky constantly produces clouds. Some thoughts are useful and wise, while others are distorted, exaggerated, or completely untrue. Yet because these thoughts appear in our own minds, we often accept them without question. The result is unnecessary suffering. We become trapped in stories that exist only within our heads, mistaking them for reality. Think about how many times your mind has predicted a terrible outcome that never happened. Perhaps you worried endlessly about a conversation, a decision, or a challenge that eventually turned out to be manageable. Perhaps you convinced yourself that someone disliked you, only to discover that your assumption was completely wrong. The mind is an incredible tool, but it is not always an accurate narrator. It tends to focus on danger, uncertainty, and potential problems because it is designed to help us survive. Unfortunately, this survival mechanism often creates anxiety in situations where no real threat exists. Many people wake up each morning and immediately begin listening to the fearful voice inside their heads. That voice tells them they are not good enough, that they are falling behind, that they will fail, or that life is working against them. Over time, these thoughts become so familiar that they start to feel like facts. But familiarity does not make something true. A thought repeated 1,000 times can still be false. Buddhist wisdom teaches that awareness begins when we learn to observe the mind instead of becoming controlled by it. Imagine sitting beside a river and watching leaves float past on the surface of the water. Each leaf represents a thought. Some are pleasant, some are painful, and some are completely meaningless. The moment you jump into the river and grab every leaf, you become exhausted. But when you simply observe them passing by, you remain calm and free. Thoughts work in much the same way. You do not need to fight every negative thought, nor do you need to believe every positive one. You simply need to recognize that thoughts come and go. They are temporary mental events, not permanent truths. The more you practice observing your thoughts without attaching yourself to them, the more peace you begin to experience. You create space between your awareness and your mental chatter. In that space, wisdom can emerge. So tomorrow morning, before allowing your mind to drag you into worry, pause for a moment and remind yourself, I am not my thoughts. I am the awareness that observes them. Let this simple truth become a source of freedom. If a fearful thought appears, notice it without judgment. If a self-critical thought arises, acknowledge it without automatically believing it. The goal is not to eliminate every negative thought. The goal is to stop giving them absolute authority over your life. When you realize that you are more than the stories your mind tells you, something remarkable begins to happen. Anxiety loses some of its power. Self-doubt becomes less convincing. Inner peace becomes easier to access. You no longer feel compelled to follow every thought wherever it leads. Instead, you gain the ability to choose which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones can simply pass by. And that choice is the beginning of true mental freedom. The second powerful thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: I cannot control everything. This truth may sound obvious, yet much of human suffering comes from forgetting it. Many people wake up every day carrying invisible burdens that were never theirs to carry. They worry about how others will behave, whether their plans will work out perfectly, what the future will bring, and whether life will unfold according to their expectations. They try to control outcomes, circumstances, and even the opinions of other people. But the more tightly they try to hold on, the more anxious and exhausted they become. The mind constantly whispers that if we think hard enough, plan carefully enough, or worry long enough, we can somehow guarantee the results we want. Yet life rarely works that way. No matter how intelligent, prepared, or disciplined we are, There will always be forces beyond our control. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be unexpected changes. The moment we accept this reality, we begin to free ourselves from a tremendous amount of unnecessary stress. Think about how much energy is wasted worrying about things that have not happened yet. People spend hours imagining worst-case scenarios, replaying conversations that never took place, and trying to predict outcomes that are impossible to know. In many cases, the event they fear never even occurs, yet the suffering they experience is real because it is created within the mind. Anxiety often grows from the illusion that we must control every detail of life in order to feel safe. But complete control is impossible. The weather changes unexpectedly. People make decisions we cannot predict. Opportunities appear and disappear without warning. Even our own plans can be disrupted by circumstances beyond our influence. When we insist that life must follow a specific script, every deviation becomes a source of frustration. We begin fighting reality instead of working with it. This constant resistance creates tension, disappointment, and emotional fatigue. Buddhist wisdom teaches that peace arises when we learn the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. We can control our actions, our attitudes, and the choices we make in the present moment. We can choose kindness instead of anger, patience instead of frustration, and wisdom instead of impulsive reactions. But we cannot control how others respond. We cannot control every event that unfolds in our lives. We cannot control the passage of time or the changing nature of the world. Much like holding sand in your hand, the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Life often responds best when we act with intention, but release our attachment to specific outcomes. This does not mean becoming passive or giving up. It means doing your best while accepting that the final result is not entirely yours to command. There is a profound freedom in this perspective. It allows you to focus your energy where it can actually make a difference, rather than wasting it on things beyond your reach. So tomorrow morning, before you become overwhelmed by the demands of the day, pause and remind yourself, I cannot control everything, and that is okay. I can control my effort, my attitude, and my response. The rest must unfold, as it will. Let this truth soften the tension in your mind. Let it release the pressure of trying to manage every possibility. Trust that you do not need to carry the weight of the entire future on your shoulders. When challenges arise, meet them with courage. When uncertainty appears, meet it with patience. And when life takes an unexpected turn, remember that your peace does not depend on controlling every outcome. It depends on your ability to remain centered within yourself. The more you practice this truth, the more calm, resilient, and emotionally free you will become. And that freedom is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself at the start of every day. The third powerful thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: my worth does not depend on other people's opinions. Few things rob people of their peace more effectively than the constant desire for approval. From a young age, many of us are conditioned to seek validation from parents, teachers, friends, co-workers, and society. We learn to measure our value based on how others respond to us. If people praise us, we feel worthy. If they criticize us, we begin to doubt ourselves. Over time, this creates a fragile sense of self that depends entirely on external circumstances. The problem is that other people's opinions are constantly changing. One person may admire you, while another misunderstands you. Someone may appreciate your efforts today and overlook them tomorrow. If your self-worth depends on these shifting judgments, your peace of mind will always be unstable. You will spend your life trying to become whoever others want you to be, instead of discovering who you truly are. Consider how often people hide their authentic thoughts, suppress their dreams, or abandon their goals because they fear criticism. They become trapped in a cycle of people-pleasing, constantly adjusting themselves to gain acceptance. Yet no matter how hard you try, it is impossible to satisfy everyone. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will disagree with your choices. Others may judge you based on their own fears, insecurities, or limited perspectives. This has always been true and will always remain true. The mistake many people make is believing that another person's opinion has the power to define their value. But an opinion is simply a perception, not an objective truth. Just because someone fails to recognize your worth does not mean it does not exist. A diamond remains valuable even when someone mistakes it for an ordinary stone. Likewise, your value does not disappear simply because someone fails to appreciate it. Buddhist teachings often remind us that attachment to praise and fear of criticism are two sides of the same chain. When we become dependent on praise, we also become vulnerable to disappointment whenever approval is absent. True freedom comes when we stop allowing external opinions to control our inner state. This does not mean ignoring feedback or refusing to learn from others. Wise feedback can help us grow. Constructive criticism can reveal blind spots. But there is a difference between learning from opinions and being defined by them. A balanced mind listens without becoming enslaved. It evaluates feedback with wisdom and accepts what is useful while letting go of what is not. When you understand your own values and live in alignment with them, you no longer need constant validation to feel secure. Your confidence comes from within rather than from the approval of others. So tomorrow morning, before you begin your day, remind yourself, my worth does not depend on other people's opinions. I do not need everyone to understand me, approve of me, or agree with me in order to value myself. Let this truth become a shield against unnecessary self-doubt. If someone criticizes you unfairly, remain grounded. If someone overlooks your efforts, continue doing what you know is right. If others fail to see your potential, do not allow their blindness to become your limitation. Remember that your value is inherent. It is not something that can be given to you by praise, nor taken away by criticism. The moment you stop chasing validation, you reclaim an incredible amount of energy, confidence, and peace. And when that peace comes from within, it becomes far more stable than anything the outside world can offer. The fourth powerful thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: this moment is enough. In a world that constantly encourages us to chase the next achievement, the next possession, or the next milestone, it is easy to fall into the habit of believing that happiness exists somewhere in the future. Many people live as though peace is always one step away. They tell themselves that they will finally relax when they earn more money, find the right relationship, achieve a certain goal, or solve every problem in their lives. But when one goal is reached, another quickly takes its place. The finish line keeps moving, and the mind continues searching for reasons why the present moment is not good enough. As a result, people spend years postponing their happiness. They become so focused on what is missing that they fail to appreciate what is already here. Yet life is not happening in the future. It is happening now. The only moment we truly possess is the one directly in front of us. Take a moment to consider how often your mind drifts away from the present. Perhaps you replay conversations from the past, wishing things had happened differently. Perhaps you worry about situations that have not yet occurred. While reflection and planning have their place, constantly living in the past or future comes at a cost. It prevents you from fully experiencing the richness of the present moment. You may be surrounded by blessings and opportunities, yet remain unable to see them because your attention is elsewhere. The mind develops a habit of seeking fulfillment outside the current moment, convincing itself that peace will arrive later. But later never truly arrives. When the future becomes the present, the mind often finds another destination to chase. This endless cycle creates dissatisfaction because it teaches us to overlook the value of what already exists. The tragedy is not that life lacks beauty. The tragedy is that many people are too distracted to notice it. Buddhist wisdom places great importance on mindfulness because mindfulness brings us back to reality. It reminds us that life unfolds one moment at a time. The breath you are taking right now is real. The sunlight entering your room is real. The opportunity to learn, grow, and begin again today is real. When we become fully present, we often discover that many of the things we desperately seek are already available in some form. Gratitude begins to replace restlessness. Appreciation begins to replace dissatisfaction. This does not mean abandoning ambition or refusing to pursue meaningful goals. Rather, it means refusing to sacrifice today's peace in pursuit of tomorrow's success. You can work toward the future while still appreciating the present. In fact, people who learn to enjoy the journey often experience greater fulfillment than those who focus solely on the destination. The present moment is where life is lived, relationships are formed, lessons are learned, and peace is found. So, tomorrow morning, before your mind rushes ahead to all the things you need to do, pause and remind yourself, this moment is enough. I do not need to wait for a perfect future to experience peace. Let yourself appreciate the simple gift of being alive today. Notice the opportunities that already surround you. Notice the strength you have gained from challenges you have already overcome. Notice the beauty that exists in ordinary moments. The more you practice this truth, the less dependent you become on external circumstances for happiness. You begin to understand that peace is not something you discover at the end of the journey. It is something you can cultivate along the way. And when you learn to fully embrace the present moment, you unlock a source of contentment that no future achievement can ever replace. The fifth powerful thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: every day is a new beginning. One of the greatest burdens people carry is the weight of yesterday. They wake up thinking about mistakes they made, opportunities they missed, words they wish they had never spoken, or decisions they regret. Instead of meeting the new day with openness and possibility, they drag the past into the present and allow it to shape their future. The mind has a tendency to replay painful memories, often convincing us that our past failures define who we are. But this is an illusion. What happened yesterday may influence you, but it does not have to imprison you. Every sunrise offers a reminder that life is constantly renewing itself. Nature does not cling to yesterday's storms. The seasons do not refuse to change because of what happened before. Life moves forward, and we are invited to do the same. Many people underestimate how much energy is lost through regret. They replay old situations repeatedly, searching for different outcomes that no longer exist. They punish themselves for mistakes that cannot be undone. While reflection can be valuable, endless self-condemnation serves no useful purpose. In fact, it often prevents growth. When a person becomes obsessed with their past failures, they begin to fear taking new risks. They hesitate to trust themselves. They stop believing in their ability to change. Yet every successful, wise, and resilient person has made mistakes. Every human being has experienced moments of weakness, confusion, and failure. The difference is that some people allow those experiences to become permanent labels, while others use them as lessons. Growth becomes possible the moment we stop asking, "Why did this happen?" and start asking, "What can this teach me?" The past can become either a prison or a teacher, depending on how we choose to view it. Buddhist teachings emphasize impermanence, the understanding that everything is constantly changing. No experience remains exactly as it is forever. Joy changes, pain changes, circumstances change. Even the person you were yesterday is not exactly the same person you are today. Your thoughts have changed, your understanding has changed, your experiences have changed. This means you are never permanently trapped by your past. The person who made mistakes years ago no longer fully exists. What exists now is the person you are becoming. When we truly understand impermanence, we stop defining ourselves by old versions of ourselves. We recognize that growth is always possible. We begin to see life as a continuous process of learning, rather than a series of final judgments. This perspective creates hope because it reminds us that no matter how difficult yesterday was, today contains possibilities that did not exist before. So tomorrow morning, before you allow old regrets to enter your mind, pause and remind yourself, every day is a new beginning. I am not limited by yesterday's mistakes. I can learn, grow, and begin again. Let this truth fill you with courage. If you have fallen, rise again. If you have failed, learn from it and move forward. If life has not unfolded as you expected, trust that new opportunities can still emerge. Do not measure your future by the difficulties of your past. Instead, focus on the choices available to you right now. Each morning is an invitation to start fresh, to think differently, and to become a wiser version of yourself. The more you embrace this truth, the less power the past will hold over you. And when you finally release yesterday's weight, you create space for peace, growth, and possibility to enter your life once again. As we come to the end of this journey together, take a moment to reflect on the 5 powerful truths you have heard today. These are not merely positive statements designed to make you feel good for a few minutes. They are reminders of deeper realities that can fundamentally change the way you experience each day. The first truth reminded us that we are not our thoughts. Thoughts come and go like clouds passing through the sky, but they do not define who we are. The second truth taught us that we cannot control everything. True peace emerges when we focus our energy on what we can influence and release our attachment to what we cannot. The third truth reminded us that our worth does not depend on the opinions of others. Our value is not something that must be earned through approval or validation. The fourth truth encouraged us to embrace the present moment, recognizing that peace is available now rather than somewhere in an imagined future. And the fifth truth showed us that every day is a new beginning, offering another opportunity to learn, grow, and move forward. What makes these truths so powerful is their simplicity. Many people spend years searching for complicated answers to life's challenges, believing that peace must be hidden behind some great mystery. Yet wisdom often reveals itself through simple principles practiced consistently over time. A single reminder repeated each morning can gradually reshape the way you think, feel, and respond to life. The mind is influenced by repetition. Just as negative thoughts become habits when repeated often enough, positive and empowering truths can also become part of your mental foundation. This transformation rarely happens overnight. It occurs through small daily choices. Each morning you have the opportunity to choose what kind of thoughts you will nurture. You can feed fear or cultivate courage. You can strengthen self-doubt or strengthen self-trust. You can focus on what is lacking or appreciate what is already present. These choices may seem small, but over months and years they create entirely different lives. Imagine waking up tomorrow and beginning your day with these 5 truths in mind. Instead of immediately becoming lost in anxious thoughts, you remember that thoughts are temporary. Instead of trying to control every possible outcome, you focus on your actions and let go of unnecessary worry. Instead of seeking validation from others, you stand firmly in your own worth. Instead of postponing happiness for some future moment, you appreciate the gift of today. Instead of carrying yesterday's mistakes, you welcome the opportunity to begin again. How would your day feel different? How would your relationships change? How would your future be shaped by repeatedly choosing these perspectives? The answers may be more powerful than you realize. Inner peace is not created through one dramatic event. It is created through countless small moments of awareness, acceptance, and wisdom practiced day after day. Before you continue with the rest of your day, choose one of these truths that resonates most deeply with you right now. Perhaps there is one lesson that speaks directly to a challenge you are currently facing. Carry that reminder with you today. Return to it whenever your mind becomes restless or distracted. Let it serve as an anchor that brings you back to clarity and balance. Remember, peace is not something that suddenly appears when life becomes perfect. Peace is something you cultivate within yourself, even in the midst of uncertainty. Thank you for spending this time with us. If this message brought value to your life, consider subscribing and joining us for more timeless wisdom, practical insights, and guidance for inner peace. And now, as you move forward into the day ahead, take a slow breath, trust yourself, and remember that wisdom is already within you. Sometimes all it takes is a quiet moment to hear it.